The purpose of Creative Turnaround is to examine story properties in film franchises to determine if they can have a creative future and discuss how best to turn around those that have lost their way. While my first full-length project will be about how the Star Wars franchise can creatively turn things around, I wanted to start off talking about another classic story from my childhood. That being Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The live-action film with Gene Wilder in the title role from 1971. Like many story properties in our collective cultural consciousness, this is one that has been retold before. It is in fact itself retold from a book and adapted into a new medium by creative fans of the original as well as the author. This makes it a sort of fan fiction, though at its core, all storytelling is fan fiction. The question I strive to answer on this channel, though, and then discuss with other fans, will be about whether something creative can still be done with a story we love. In full episodes, I may go over at length what I believe can be done to continue a story, or how one could creatively reboot a story, or give detailed thoughts on a story that has already been beautifully continued or rebooted. I believe as long as there is still love for a story, fans can find a way to keep it alive in our collective cultural consciousness. That being said, some stories are definitive and complete to the point of becoming timeless classics that need never be rebooted. As far as the live-action 1971 film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, it falls into that category. The film is iconic, expanding on its source material and defining an identity of its own that is a perfect, timeless story captured like lightning in a bottle. Any attempt to remake a live-action version of the original film will be trapped within its shadow and struggle to not miss the point of the story that made it a classic. No matter how far CGI comes, it offers little to nothing that could meaningfully improve that original story. A problem Disney has with their live-action remakes is relying on CGI as a way to redefine their stories in a meaningful way, which CGI simply cannot do. The story has been perfectly told as a timeless live-action film adaptation of the core story with great acting and intentional pacing, increasing upon the humor and many of the other components of the original book. There is no reason to reboot a live-action Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Meanwhile, the book itself still holds up to avid readers as a beloved story in its own format, which is one that rarely sees reboots anyway. And since the book's original adaptation to live action was done with the help of the story's original creator, there is also no reason to do so again. Sadly, that didn't keep the film industry from trying by handing it to a storyteller that looked like a good choice at first glance and asking him to adapt it into live action again. However, this being Creative Turnaround, I propose looking at an alternative idea to bring more life to this classic story. There is another way to retell the story of the book without imitating the changes made by the movie to adapt it to live action. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory can become an iconic, animated classic with the right creative force behind it, like Studio Ghibli. I would personally love to see Hayao Miyazaki adapt this beloved book into the medium of animation. I believe the importance of the right storyteller to adapt or reboot a story cannot be understated, and thus I will always try to propose one. Miyazaki could bring the magical world of the book to life using the unique wonder and whimsy of the animated format to create a story capable of standing on its own. We could have a distinct new version of the story, able to reach the hearts of even more fans. Now, I am curious to know how many agree that idea sounds good or why anyone disagrees. So please comment below and share your thoughts. Of course, that idea is not the only hope to grow the story. There is in fact another alternative I am also going to propose. You see, the live-action film is an iconic enough adaptation with its added elements that it could be interesting to adapt to another medium itself. The eccentric humor, patient build-up, quirky musical numbers, visual style, and character-driven story are the keys to replicating the heart of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I can think of no medium better suited to add something creative and new to this story than stop-motion film. Adapting the live-action classic in this way allows for exploring some of the changes from the book in creative new ways. Personally, I would pay to see a Wes Anderson directed stop-motion version of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Now, if you have a different storyteller you would like to recommend for either of those ideas, drop them down in the comments and let me know why. That's going to do it for this quick rant on Charlie and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. But stay tuned, and I will begin my first full-length series next week on a franchise in desperate need of a creative turnaround, one that is also near and dear to my heart. So subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon if you want to be alerted when you have a chance to hear some guy on the internet talk about Star Wars.